Special edition of Cubs 360, where it's all about mathematics today. Get a load of this equation: 26 plus 97. That's home runs and RBIs. Oh, what does that equal? 3 years, $80 million for the guy you just saw walking into Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona. That is the NL Comeback Player of the Year, Cody Bellinger, and he is back with the Chicago Cubs on a lucrative deal. There's opt-outs after this season and next, but either way, in the batter's box, swinging away, ready for the season to get going, Ryan Sweeney.
Yeah, good to see Cody Bellinger back in the cage with a smile on his face, going out there, doing all the stretches that he needs to do, and just getting back in a Cubs uniform.
Yeah, the whole clubhouse glad to see number 24 back in the saddle. He was hitting .252 back on June 21st, but he raised his average 55 points to be part of this elite quartet. You see, guys that hit over 300 with 20-plus pumps and 20 or more swipes. Cody Bellinger, Ronald Acuna Jr., Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani. It's pretty elite company, Swing.
Yeah, is that good? Cody Bellinger up at the top of the list. NL Comeback Player of the Year. The Cubs are glad to have him back.
Yeah, also, winner of the Silver Slugger, should have been a finalist for the Gold Glove, but him being that super utility guy could have been his Achilles heel. Everything he brings to the table, not only were we able to see it on full display a season ago, but we get to see it again right across the street at the friendly confines in 2024.
And it's not just the numbers that Cody Bellinger put up. It's the type of guy he is and the type of guy that you bring into the clubhouse. You talk about him being up the middle, the Gold Glove with Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner. Now you throw Cody Bellinger out there in center field and can be at first base. That is a good recipe for success for the Chicago Cubs.
Absolutely, and welcome in once again. This is Cubs 360. He's Ryan Sweeney. I'm Cole Wright. We're here waiting for Cody Bellinger to address all the Cubs fans out there in TV land. And when it comes to Cody Bellinger, his versatility, sometimes it can be a player's undoing, but for him, it's his calling card.
It really is. And I mean, when you think about Cody Bellinger and just all the attributes that he brings to a team, this is a guy that the Chicago Cubs needed to bring back. You talk about last year, we talk about the 307, the 26 home runs, but even you talk about the stolen bases with 20 bags last year and being able to go out there and really put pressure on the other team.
Yeah, he's a special guy, and here he is, stepping to the microphone. Cody, Jed, and Carter, let's listen in.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We have Jed Hoyer, Cody Bellinger, and Scott Morris. If you have a question, please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and go from there. With that, we'll take questions.
Tony Drake, Northeast Sports Network. Cody, I'm curious what your thoughts were just on seeing all the reaction from your teammates here throughout the winter, some of the things I know Dansby's talked publicly, some of the other guys. What was your reaction to seeing all of that, and how good did it feel kind of to come back?
Yeah, it was amazing. Just the constant support from the teammates. Obviously, everyone knew how great of a time I had last year, and how just a great clubhouse that we had, and just the positive words that they were bringing. This past off season was just great to hear, and obviously was super excited to get back here with them.
Ryan Herrera, CHGO, Cody. Just the feeling of being back. Here you were able to go out there and then get back on with the guys you were around all last year. Just that feeling for you today.
Feels amazing. It feels amazing. I was, craving baseball. I was fiending for it. Doing what I could in the off season. Enjoying all my family time. Doing everything I could physically and mentally to stay ready for when the moment came. And this was my first official day today, and it feels really good, and beyond excited to get going.
Also tribute. How difficult was it for you to when spring training starting and you're not there? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I think I trusted the process. I was in constant communication with Scott over here and understanding what was going on, and super aware of the situation, and constant support from my wife, and like I said, it was just with my family, and whenever I was ready, I wanted to be ready, and I feel really good right now.
Jesse Rogers, ESPN. Jed and maybe Scott, I don't know, 10 days ago, a week ago, Tom said that discussions have been taking place, but not negotiations. So can you go through the timeline from, I guess, when he said that?
Yeah, I mean, I think really with Scott and with me, I think you can take the conversation back to July. I think we started the conversation on this in July. I think Scott will attest. Like my comments to him about Cody have never wavered at all. I've felt all along, great fit for the team, great fit in the clubhouse. Love the person, the family, all those things. So that never wavered. I think that we probably talked more often than Scott would have liked. But I feel like we. I think with any negotiation, I think there's sometimes a misperception that we just fire offers back and forth to each other. I think there's a lot of talking about what each side wanted, and I think over the last kind of 5 to 7 days before we got the deal done, I think we kind of targeted a deal that made sense for both sides, and at that point, we did start making offers and talking more often and getting serious. But we had a lot of talks, and like I said, our comments about Cody and our desire to bring him back never wavered. It was just a matter of finding the right fit.
Scott, would you say that maybe a longer term contract was the initial goal, and you settled on something a little shorter? How would you characterize that all?
Well, when you represent a player of Cody's caliber, and you're talking about an MVP talent who's had irregularity outside of consequences that are unrelated to him, like a 250-pound pitcher stepping on his ankle, or a teammate rather aggressively in celebration causing an eventual surgery. Those are things that are not related to Cody or his durability or what he does. And free agency is like I don't know, it's kind of like a turkey and a thermometer. You kind of have to go in, see what the temperature is, evaluate it. And Cody and I agreed that we're going to look at this in a couple ways. We're going to have 2 positive outcomes for this process. And the one positive outcome, we knew that, and Jed was very clear that they wanted to contract with Cody and have him on the team. And our dynamic was to determine whether there was what it was on the other end with a contract of great length. And as we got through that process and looked to it, is that's certainly where we let Jed know that on something like this, with this kind of structure, with this kind of flexibility, with these kinds of things, it's what we're looking for. And we had mutual agreement and understanding that this type of structure was agreeable to both of us. So, each team functions in their own way, as they always do. And you have owners who want to be directly involved with roster negotiations and things along that. And then you have other owners who the Cubs operate, and Tom operates in a different way. And it's certainly, I'm amenable to anything. I've never called Tom about Cody Bellinger. I always called Jed, because Jed and I frankly talk about a lot of things in baseball all the time. And so we have a great communication system with the Cubs, and certainly, Tom and I talk about baseball and we run into one another, but it's something that's a very mutual and amicable relationship top to bottom here.
Jordan Bastion, MLB.com. Just business and desire, the teammates don't always align, but how nice is it when you have Dansby pestering you about it, or players saying what they're saying, to be able to give that room kind of what they've been asking for?
Yeah, I haven't heard from Dansby since Saturday night, so it's been kind of nice. It means a lot, honestly. The fact that Cody came in last year and in 1 year endeared himself to his teammates that much and to the fans that much, I think is really important. And for obvious reasons. I mean, the way he played was fantastic, but also how he carried himself on the field, in the clubhouse. So it didn't surprise me that there was so much desire to bring him back. But I think they wanted to bring back the player, and I think they wanted to bring back the person, and I think that's wonderful.
Scott talked about the different structures. When it came to structure similar to this, were the Cubs the focus for you once you realized this was the type of contract it may be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, didn't hide the fact internally that I did want to come back here, and I just loved Wrigley Field. I loved the fans. Me and my family enjoyed Chicago, and when it was, coming towards the end and everything was kind of coming to light a little bit. And this was definitely something that, definitely I wanted and both sides agreed on. And I'm super happy that it worked out the way it did.
Maddie Lee, Chicago Sun-Times. Cody, at the end of last year, it really felt like there was unfinished business for this group. What does it mean to be able to come back and finish it?
That's it, honestly. We were so close last year. Really got banged up towards the end, and fought till the very end. We got so close, and for me to come back here with almost the same team, to experience playoff in Chicago is something that I want to do, and it's something that I want to experience, and it's big part of the reason why I did want to come back here. So, like I said, I'm glad it all worked out, and that's what I'm gonna strive to do every day.
Cody, Andy Martinez from Market Sports Network. For you, what have your interactions been like with Craig Counsell? Obviously, that's a big change. What have your interactions been like, and what have your conversations been like?
Yeah, I think that he is amazing. Like I said, this was my first official day, and the last few days was kind of hanging around a little bit. Just having my very few, obviously playing against him a lot of respect from the other side, just how he handles games and how he handles situations. I've always respected from the other side, and today was my first day with him, and just a guy that you want to play for. Honestly, it's just a guy you want to play for, and you're going to go to battle with for every single day. And it's been great so far, and I'm very excited to play for him.
Stephanie Epstein from Sports Illustrated. Presumably at the beginning of the winter, you sort of imagined what you thought the winter would look like and how things would play out. How close is what actually happened to what you envisioned in October, November? That's for Cody.
I think what Cody's talking about is and feels like any player feels. When you go into these things, there's variables. And what are the variables? And the variables relate to teams and such. And we have some irregularity going on in this current market. We have close to 11 teams that are spending less money than they did a year ago on competitiveness, in light of the fact that we have record revenues in baseball. And when you have that irregularity ongoing, that obviously is something that we had, I think, 15 contracts of 4-year or more signed in 22, and then in 21 the same. This year we've had 4 for American players and 5 for foreign players. So when you look at this, there are dynamics that are ongoing where, and in fairness to owners, they may like to get to spring training. They may like to evaluate. They may like to look at things and then act. But there has been a hesitation in the Major League Auto where they're using 3 gears instead of 4 for competitiveness.
Cody, you've known Pico Armstrong for a while. He's said all the right things about wanting you to come back, but he's the guy that directly impacted by your return. How do you kind of handle that relationship? What do you say to him as you arrive back here?
Yeah, I love Pete. I think that he's an amazing kid, and he's got such a bright future ahead of him. He's an amazing talent. Actually during this whole process, we continued to chat just because, I really love the kid. I respect him and how he plays the game and everything. And so we've had a lot of open communication with each other, and it's nothing but love between us. And, like I said, he's an amazing talent, and he's going to have a really, really long MLB career ahead of him.
Jack Thompson, AP. For Scott, do you have any more of these events scheduled in the next few days?
Well, I'll have to wait for more Cubs signature moves.
Cody, to Stephanie's, before you knew the variables, you go back to last offseason, a lot of long-term deals. Did you think you might be able to sign one long-term last contract?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that thought that goes into it. And, like I said, I think that ultimately that's the goal. And so just kind of continue to for me, I talked to Scott continuously and see what was going on. And, at the end of the day, like, super excited how it all worked out. And, yes, obviously, but, with this, I'm very excited with it all and very happy to get going.
Cody, I'm not sure how aware you are of outside noise, but people say like last season there was soft contact and the expected numbers weren't as good as what you actually produced. What's your response to that and your belief in yourself?
Yeah, I definitely obviously hear it and kind of brush it off. I think that there's a lot of different variables that go into it, and not to look at one certain stat to dictate a whole season. So, definitely trust myself as a baseball player to go out every single day and put my best product on the field. And, I trust that the positive results are going to come. And, like I said, believe in myself. And so, yeah.
If I may add to that as well, those numbers have not been appropriately addressed, because when we talk about soft contact, they don't talk about the counts. When he has 00, 10, 20, 31 counts, check what his contact strength is. And then when he took a two-strike approach this year, where all of a sudden he's now got, if not the best in the National League, but the second best in baseball of batting average with two strikes, going to a more contact approach rather than taking a customary powerful swing as he would early in the counts. So the data that's presented has not been talked about, the real benefits to major league teams, where wouldn't we love to have Cody Bellinger on base with about a 350 batting average or on base percentage with two strikes, because we know he can score from first, versus having a totality of contact rate where you're excluding what goes on with two strikes versus going on with early in the counts. So in other words, the power is still there.
Cody, obviously with the manager change, Dustin Kelly's still around. How do you feel working with him last year benefited you, whether that was before the season, during the season, and what excites you about being able to continue working with him?
Yeah, absolutely. Once I signed, I sent him some video of my swings of the off season, see where we were at, and I think it was 2 days ago we were back in the cage together and just had great talks about what I'm feeling and last year, this year, and just talking shop and talking baseball, talking swing, talking approach, and talking family, and so it's very exciting to be back with DK for sure.
Cody, you did soft contact aside or any of that stuff, do you feel like you have to just keep proving yourself that last year wasn't an anomaly from the end of the Dodgers career?
Yeah, I think for me, like I said, I trust myself as a baseball player to go out every single day and do what I can to help the team win. And, that's ultimately what I strive to do. And so I'm fully, I fully believe in myself as a baseball player. Yes.
From your perspective, Cody, when did it become clear to you that this was how it was going to go? This was going to be the Cubs, that you were coming back?
Maybe about a day before. It was 2 days before, maybe a day before.
Ah, so you guys held it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I think that there was always, you just never know in this business. And so I tried to listen as much as I could and got very knowledgeable about it and ultimately said my wants and needs. And so, yeah, once it was all, official, and so right before that.
Cody, you mentioned those wants and needs. What was at the top of the list priority-wise?
I think for me it was, there was a few different things that went into it. Ultimately, once we understood what was going on about it all, I was wanting to be here. And, I did want to come back to this team, and I did want to, do my best to help. I mean, we were so close last year. Like, so close last year to becoming a playoff team, and that was a pretty important piece for me, was to get back here, and I want to help bring this team to the playoffs. You know what I mean? So that's definitely what that was a want and a need for me. I want to try and do that.
Jed, is this the team going forward? Is that your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be the expectation. Obviously, we're never going to stop looking, and so, I never put a final nail in that, because I think that, things come up all the time, trades, free agents, but, certainly it's the 28th of February. So, yeah, I think that's the expectation, though I would never rule anything out. It's kind of how I would phrase it.
Follow up to that, just see if we can get you on the record about it. Signing another one of Scott's clients would push you past the threshold. We all see the numbers. You might get there anyway, but would that prevent you from another signing?
Yeah, you guys have dealt with me for a while. You think I'm going to answer that?
Good question, Jess.
Scott, what is your theory? You were saying that the owners are not spending, some of them, a lot of them. Why do you think that is?
We've been in markets before where there's flex. There's like 5 windows that owners operate from: November, December, January, February, March. And some of them just really want to see the character of their teams as they go through it. They adjust. So I can't put a notice out that they're not, because there's still a number of them that are engaged with us today about making moves and adding players and doing things. It's just that sometimes I went through this with Bryce Harper or J.D. Martinez or Eric Hosmer way back when, where they were players that signed in March. And a lot of times is that there's definition for each individual player and his setting in each of these markets. And it's hard for people to believe that there is not a lot of communication about elite players, because there's a valuation to them economically that clubs are not ready to take, so that they don't call. And then all of a sudden, when there's a need, they do call, and they really feel. I had one owner just tell me the other day, we're positioned now in a place that we weren't positioned before, even in December. So now I feel differently about the team, where this addition means something more to me. And so the idea of why markets move and the ebbs and flow of them, it's very much a staff of people, an ownership group getting recommendations, more knowledge about where they're at. And it's frankly the value of our game, because in cap sports, you can't make late adjustments. You can't do things. Where in our game, there's a way to evaluate to the last moment and get, I think, for their respective teams more of what they want to do to achieve a competitive level that they couldn't realize in November, December, or January. So a lot of that goes on in free agent markets, particularly when you have players that are elitely skilled.
Good time for 2 more.
Scott, has owners' unwillingness or hesitation to spend this offseason surprised you?
It's something that, when you have record revenues and then you have other things that are going on about media rights, well, media rights are a platform to a higher value. They're not a platform to a lower value. So the transition of that is something that people want to talk about, because they say there's uncertainty. But uncertainty to a higher market is very different than uncertainty to something less. And so these kinds of equations for me are something that you understand why they would say it, what they would do. But back to baseball, I think people really want to evaluate as much as they can to know what the best thing is for them to do. But the key thing of it is, in record revenues, there's just a lot of flexibility that is in the market and is with each ownership to determine what's best for them. And this is frankly where baseball analytic operates at its best. This is no different than, right now, is no different than the trading deadline in July. I get to add players that can, in one day, change a locker room, as we've seen happen today. You know, and when Cody Bellinger walks in, you watch the glow of a franchise and the opportunities of a franchise completely change. And that impact, I think, is what is something that is known to the staff and the people that study it and know it. And there's more certainty to their decisions when you make decisions at a later time in free agency. So I don't look at it as a negative. I just look at it as a element of how markets develop in particular situations, and we happen to be in one at this time.
Follow-up, is there,
Last one.
I mean, I assume a sign, there's no way to work out a signing deadline in your mind. I know Jed wouldn't mind one probably, but based on everything you just said about continued evaluations and things.
I think inherent in any right is choice. And when you put a deadline upon that, you have in effect removed the very right as it exists when it was collectively bargained from way back ago. And I don't think you're going to find any players or a union who've done their best over the years to protect those rights, that they're going to alter it at a level where it would be reduced to something that would be a fraction of what it was originally.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. That concludes the press conference.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So that was Cody Bellinger, Jed Hoyer, and Bellinger's representation, Scott.